NASCAR has a huge problem that's been brewing for months but escalated to a whole new level just now. NASCAR teams are sick and tired of the behavior of the sports management, and they're preparing for huge riots. Obviously, the tension between the teams and NASCAR as an organization have never been higher, and it seems like the NASCAR executives are trying to deliberately mess things up so that they'll get things their way. The team owners are furious with the current business model of NASCAR, which doesn't reward them properly. And on top of that, they now have to deal with all the TV deal problems that are far from the way they'd like. The situation has spiraled out of control up to the extent that we're going to probably see a split between NASCAR and the teams. What on earth are we talking about? Stick around for the whole video. There's hundreds of things to cover, but not to waste your time, we're gonna give you all the news in less than 9 minutes. Let us get you filled in. Let's start with the TV deal and then go on from there. The current TV deal that is in place goes through 2024, and the proposal that the teams made was for the 2025 season and beyond. The current contracts, which began in 2015, have Fox Sports paying NASCAR a total of $3.8 billion, while NBC Sports will pay $4.4 billion. These are the deals that are yet to expire in 2024. However, the teams are very unhappy with how the situation currently stands, which is why they are planning to boycott the upcoming seasons if things don't go their way. The NASCAR community is not reacting to these demands, which is only making the team owners more furious. However, they are not leaving with empty hands outside of this deal, which is why they are trying to negotiate on their split of the next pact in the meantime. As of now, 65% of the current split goes to tracks, 25% goes to the teams, and 10% goes to NASCAR. The teams are eager to change this, and it was discussed in Charlotte a couple of weeks ago. The team owners have shared their demands with NASCAR in the 7-point proposal that was carefully thought out by the team owners. What was truly a slap in the face for them was the fact that NASCAR sent a short and brief response that this did not suit their liking, which is why we are yet to see more uprisings and more riots. The teams are not letting anything slide under their radar, which is why they formed a subcommittee of sorts to handle this topic. The executioners that met with the media on Friday were the 4 that previously served on the subcommittee: 2311 racing investor Curtis Polk, Joe Gibbs Racing President Dave Alpern, RFK Racing President Steve Newark, and Hendrick Motorsports Vice Chair Jeff Gordon. So what did these executives do? Obviously they had meetings with NASCAR to make things right, and these talks were done throughout the season. But with every passing meeting, the team owners felt like nothing was achieved, which is why they felt that the situation was not going anywhere and that the NASCAR community was just trying to ditch their request. Therefore, they felt like going public with this issue would be the right thing, and expressing their riot is going to be publicly done in order to bring more attention to this problem. Several of them describe these meetings as a pivotal moment for the future of NASCAR, also known as the make or break situation for the sport. Apart from the broken business model, something that doesn't sit right with the executioners of the NASCAR teams, the TV rights is something that is waiting in the background like a storm. But we'll get to that later, because we want to talk to you about the business model issues, something that the teams are ready to make a split inside the sport if it doesn't turn in their way. The main focus of the executives' meetings with NASCAR was the economic model, as we mentioned earlier in this video. And the universal point of the team owners is the business model is broken and the future of the sport could be in question. Keep in mind that these guys are all multimillionaires, and if you are able to jeopardize their existence with your business model, obviously you did something very wrong. Teams say that they're not turning any profit. Yes, as a shock as it may seem to you guys, the NASCAR teams are not making any profits and are struggling to tie up loose ends at the end of the season. They all think that the major issue with that is the business model, because the hunt for sponsorship has turned out to be a massive problem for them. The sponsorship comprises about 60 out of 80% of most NASCAR teams' annual revenue, which doesn't sit right with the team owners because, as they say in other sports, this number is significantly lower. NASCAR did have a response to this request of the team owners, but it's far from what they would have originally hoped for. The team and leaders added that the sport's response was more about cutting costs for teams than trying to grow revenue, but that teams were already at their breaking point in that regard and thought the focus should be more on trying to grow the numbers. But this was far from what the team owners want to achieve with the sport, which is why we are led to believe that huge riots are on the way. And keep in mind that this is only part one of the owners' major issues with the sport. It seems like NASCAR always finds a way to make the team owners and executives angry, and even though this is one of the richest sports that exist, the strict rules do not let the owners make easy money out of their success. That is what Gordon said about Hendrick Motorsport, adding that the team hasn't turned a profit in quite some time. Alpern described himself as a terrified human being when the owner of the team, Joe Gibbs, is gone. To this, he added that he is afraid for the future of the team and its survival in the first place, let alone competing at the back end. Polk spoke about the RTA's calculations, which only go to emphasize the nature of the problem, adding that 93% of the value of the sport of NASCAR is represented by the sanctioning body and tracks, while only 7% of that is represented by the team's value. When you put it like this, One could perfectly understand what the team owners are looking for, and that is why the governing body needs to react sooner rather than later if they want to see a bright future for the sport. But what is their response? Apart from the one that we mentioned earlier in this video, NASCAR rejected some of these contentions in part because the sport is not an actual franchise model like most stick and ball sports are. Teams do not own NASCAR and are technically independent contractors. On the other hand, the teams do own their charters and grant them certain revenue and obligate them to run every race, which is obviously too little revenue for them now that the situation has reached the public eye. As of now, the asking price for charters is said to be around $25 million, but the most recent one to actually be sold was the one that 23XI Racing bought roughly a year ago from the now defunct Starcom Racing for $13.5 million. It's currently a dead end between NASCAR team owners and the governing body, and this is just yet another problem for NASCAR after the next-gen cars and the tire scandal with Goodyear. Newmark said that all of the current team's efforts are being put toward trying to find an equitable solution in NASCAR, further suggesting that no plans are being drawn up at the moment to try to start a rival league like what the PGA Tour has done with LIV Golf. What is even more interesting is the fact that Newmark added that teams indicated to NASCAR that they are open to some sort of budget cap, but all the sole focus cannot be on cutting cost. Team executioners have continued to bash NASCAR for not paying enough attention to their problem, which is why going public was the only solution for them. Polk spoke about how NASCAR is making money on the backs of the teams, and the amount of money the sport is making is enormous. NASCAR is a money-printing machine, but the teams and drivers are putting on the show. The situation has escalated a lot with every passing day, and as of now, we could see a split in the sport. Splits have happened in other sports, such as the IndyCar split. The split began in 1996, and it was between the Indy Racing League (IRL) and the established championship auto racing teams (CART). While the former CART boss felt like the split has enhanced the popularity and awareness of the IndyCar 500, it's far from a perfect solution for the sport. This is why we are not happy to see the same thing happening in NASCAR. What doesn't sit right with the team owners is that NASCAR always finds a diplomatic answer to their requests, and in a statement, the governing body said that it acknowledges the changes currently facing race teams, along with the fact that the goal is strong, healthy sport, and we will accomplish that together. What NASCAR wants to achieve is the teams agreeing to budget cap or some other cost control measure to discuss giving more revenue, and that's far from an acceptable solution for the team owners. The solution is not great for NASCAR because in the following period, they are going to face yet another negotiation when it comes to the TV rights. Obviously, this is a method that doesn't work for them, and slowly but surely, we are seeing the degradation of NASCAR. Changes need to come sooner rather than later, and how they are going to affect the sport, we are yet to see. But what do you think about the uprising the teams are preparing against NASCAR? Do you think that this could be the end to NASCAR as we know it? And what would you do if you owned a team in the Cup Series and found yourself in this situation? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching all the way to the end, and a massive shout out to all our loyal subscribers. Your support is deeply appreciated. Just make sure to turn on all notifications so you don't miss the next video. We promise it's a huge one. Until next time, racers.